This morning at around 8:02 a.m. Central Standard Time, Saturn arrived at 29 degrees of Pisces. And, that's the last degree of the sign of Pisces. So maybe we can call that the wrap-up degree. I know it's often referred to as the anaretic degree, but I think a more practical way to describe it is the wrap-up degree. Everything culminates at that 29th degree. The journey throughout that sign comes to a point of a crescendo. Everything is almost like, when you have a really tragic event happen and it's like your life flashes before your eyes. It's like that type of energy. Like everything just like it's suddenly there are these realizations of what it was all about. And sometimes those realizations come through something crazy happening. And we hope that that's not what we have to endure. But we will pay attention, though, especially on the world stage for these next 10 days while Saturn sits at 29 degrees of Pisces, because it makes its ingress into Aries on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Then we know that 6 days later, it makes that big conjunction, exact conjunction with Neptune at 0 degrees and maybe 45 minutes. I can't remember, but either way, they're going to have a exact conjunction. So I had a realization today around this energy, one of just Saturn period, and then especially Saturn at 29 degrees of Pisces. So my wife bought us these vests to put on to wear while we're working out. And this is heavy as hell, but I'm going to try to pick it up. So this vest is like 30 pounds. It feels more like 60, but 30-pound vest. So I wore the vest for the first time today, and I wasn't even planning it relative to Saturn arriving at 29 degrees. It just so happened to line up that way. And as I'm walking or climbing the step mill doing my cardio, it hit me that Saturn applies pressure. Metal, from a metallurgy standpoint, I think Saturn coincides with lead. And if you look at the some of the old occult books where they talk about alchemy and how there's a point in the alchemical process when the heavy substance falls, and that heavy substance is lead. And at that point is when the transmutation must actually begin to convert that lead into gold, or to transform that lead into gold. And if you think about etymologically, the word lead comes from the Indo-European root plump. And if you think about plump, that's like the root of plumber. Plump. When you really listen to it, that is the sound of the lead settling down. Plump, plump. That sound denotes a heaviness, a pressure, a compression. And when I had that thing on, 30 more pounds added to me, and I felt the pressure pushing down on my lower back. So I had to be more cognizant of controlling my diaphragm or my transverse abdominis, keeping it controlled and locked so that my pelvic bone doesn't shift or my lumbar doesn't shift. And I get up on the step mill and I start slow, because originally my plan was just to walk on the treadmill. I'm like, okay, I'm already going above and beyond. I'm going to go up on the step mill with this thing. So I'm like, I'm doing good just to be moving. And then as I got going, I noticed my heart rate got up into my target heart rate zone a lot faster than it normally does. By about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, my heart rate was already up almost around 140 or right at 140. I never can get my heart rate up that quick, especially moving that slow. Stay with me. This is literal and metaphorical. So I start off and I start speeding up. And I'll say, okay, I'm doing intervals where I speed up and slow down, but my intervals, my speed up parts were a lot slower than they normally are as far as the speed. And as I got going more, it hit me. Your nervous system has adjusted. Your musculoskeletal system has adjusted. You're carrying more weight, but it is functioning. Speed up. Push yourself a little more. Speed up. So I started going a little faster on my intervals. And then it started coming to me about how this is teaching so much about just Saturn as an archetype, but especially about Saturn as it has moved through Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, in preparation to land on the world point or the zero of Aries. You cannot become efficient at carrying the load that you presently have, or you cannot be as efficient without enduring a heavier load. Think about what I'm saying. You cannot be more efficient at carrying the load you have until you've had more added onto you. And Saturn will make you feel like things are pressing down on you. And especially as it has moved through Pisces, like you're getting pressed down, like you think you take 2 steps forward and you end up taking 5 steps back. But that is building endurance, and it makes your body more efficient. Your organs are more efficient, especially your heart, your respiratory system more efficient, because you have your oxygen uptake becomes more efficient when your load increases. And that's why we got these things, is because, see, when you're carrying more weight, more visceral weight is added, that's when it becomes life-threatening. The more visceral fat you add, the higher your chance of morbidity goes. But this is weight added externally, so your organs are not having to get taxed. So you're able to trick your body by putting more pressure on it. So then it starts, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system starts adapting to function with this heavier weight. You become more efficient in your movement. It helps you build more strength, more endurance, because your body is an adaptive machine, a computer. And this is new data that's being added, and it's like, okay, we got to step it up, man. This food and put on 30 more pounds, okay? The pressures in life at any given point will help you see how inefficient you were in a previous state. I talk to a lot of people who struggle with managing their time. They need somebody to stand over them. They need somebody to force them. They need to be prodded to do things because they struggle to find it within themselves to govern themselves, to be disciplined, to be mindful of how they use their time, right? And so sometimes life puts things on them, on us, because I've been guilty of misusing time. So life adds things to us to show us just how inefficient we were when we had it easier. It's easier for me to go do my cardio and work out 30 pounds lighter. But when I add the extra weight, then it forces me to become more efficient or to crumble under the pressure. Saturn is not here to break us. Saturn is here to make us, if we will allow it, to make us what? Into a master. Saturn's ultimate directive is to produce masters, because masters endure the test of time and they germinate, they grow, they evolve over time. Saturn. They endure. Saturn. They work. Saturn. They are disciplined. Saturn. So this next 10 days, I already been feeling it, the energy just picking up. I could feel the build up to this 29th degree. And now the build up's going to intensify more because we're building up to the ingress into Aries. And then when we add in the fact that on the 3rd, Uranus station direct. So we got a lot of, there's a push. And if we liken this to looking from a systemic, anatomical perspective, there's a digestive push. There's a digestive push to purge and to eradicate toxins and infection, because Pisces. And there's a push to to trigger the digestive process through the intake of proper nutrients and through the connection between where the food is taken in, i.e. the throat, mouth, throat, and this subject we've been talking about so much, the liver, because the thyroid in the throat is communicating with the liver, and they are helping to regulate metabolism, the ability to get the maximum out of the nutrients that are taken in. Now, take that to the metaphysical sphere, getting the essence out of the life experience. Everything is a philosophy. Everything is a nugget leading you towards your own divine truth. Nothing that's happening in your life is just a happenstance, as just a place mark or a bookmark or just a pause button or a comma. They are all a part of building your divine truth, your perspective, to help you get closer to answering the question of why and what. Why is life and what is life? Ultimate questions. And so I had that revelation today. The pressure is to build, and Saturn rules over muscle, because so Saturn's the final reality of the breakdown of something. Of what? Let's look at it physiologically. The breaking down of protein, the process of breaking down, is Mars, and what it is broken down into, amino acids, is Mars. But what is the final reality of this breakdown? It is muscle, and that's Saturn. Breaking things down to build to this final reality, which is muscle. And the muscle then gives us the ability to continue to work and to resist. Muscle allows us to resist the forces, the compression. Some people say compression, some say gravity, right? But either way, something that's pushing or holding us down. Our muscle. So the same thing that represents the compression also gives us the remedy. Saturn. Saturn's the compression, and Saturn is the muscle that provides the ability to resist the compression. So we're talking literal physical muscle, but also spiritual muscle, because of course Saturn sits over the gate of the gods, the test proctor, testing us to see if we move on to the next horizon. As I am recording this, the moon is opposing Saturn, and it's in an applying opposition to Saturn. At this moment, the moon is at, it's in the last decan of Virgo. It's at 23 degrees of Virgo in an applying opposition to Saturn at 29. So our doubts, our worries can escalate over the next few hours into tomorrow. Look towards Uranus, of all things, because Uranus is collecting the light right now between the moon and Saturn. Uranus direct. We are looking towards the future, and we are making pioneering efforts and breaking free from old, outdated modalities regarding, for one, our self-worth and what we are in possession of. Go back and watch my video on Chiron and the fact that how I talk about Chiron means hand in one translation, and hand denotes grasping, perceiving, holding something, and keywords for Taurus, I have. So here we have a revolution in understanding what we have. This is a spirit of innovation, being innovative, being creative, being eclectic, and unafraid to go against the grain, and acknowledging what you have of value that may not fit into a ready-made mold. That's the collector of light between this opposition between the moon and Saturn. As I speak right now, 3:38 p.m. Central Standard Time, February 4th. So these types of things I'm available, of course, to help you make sense of as it applies to your individual walk. And I facilitate that through 720astrology.com. Go there, handle your business, know the stars to know yourself. And as always, stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down. Peace.